Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are on live, and this is another episode on the. I don't know, we still haven't figured out a name. Ya Akhi Sulayman. Maybe you can help us out. Hassan keeps insisting that we should call ourselves the Bakris or the Bakri gang or something like that. Sulayman, you here? All right, I don't know if there's a connection issue. But in any case, Assalamu alaikum, guys. Today, inshallah, we're going to be discussing Hadith al-Thaqalayn. Not only that, but we're going to be, in a sense, reacting to the discussion that occurred on the Bay'at al-Ghadir channel. It's their third video, I guess. And are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're live, by the way.
Yeah, I know we're live. Sorry to interrupt you. Or not.
Right. So inshallah,
Okay,
we're going to be discussing the third episode or the third. I don't know what's it called. Their third clip. They were discussing Hadith Thaqalayn. It was a discussion between Raza, the Blade Runner's brother, and Haroon Jameel, and it's quite interesting. Haroon Jameel is from a Sunni background, if I'm not mistaken. But it's always interesting to see Sunnis discuss or ex-Sunnis talk about Thaqalayn and talk about Shia-related matters and try to do da'wah to Sunnis. And to be honest, they often seem to be quite lost. And inshallah, we're going to be getting into that. We're going to be trying to clear some of his misconceptions. So, Abu Sulayman, if you don't mind, please just give me and give the viewers listening to us at home an idea of what Hadith al-Thaqalayn is.
Okay, sure. So basically, Hadith al-Thaqalayn is a hadith that is corroborated in our books, and it's present in the Shia literature as well, where basically, to summarize, the Prophet ﷺ says, I have left among you, and here's where the narrations differ. So he says al-Thaqalayn.
Let's stick with what the Shi'is say. What do the
Okay.
when you ask a Shi'i what's Hadith al-Thaqalayn, what does he say?
Okay, so basically the Shi'is say that Hadith al-Thaqalayn is the text from the Prophet that commands the believers to follow al-Bayt after him. That's what they claim.
All right. Some more details, please.
Okay, so the general phrasing of the hadith often goes as, I have left amongst you two things. If you hold on to, you will never go astray. The book of Allah and my family, or my Ittara, or my Ahlul Bayt. Obviously, this is the wording the Shi'as prefer of the hadith.
Right. Okay. All right. Now get into that. You said that there's a difference of wording.
Yeah, and it's okay. So I actually want to make several points before I go into the hadith, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. Point number one, the Shias, when trying to make a case from Sunni books, they fall into a lot of catastrophes. One of those is the citations. So it seems like they don't understand the difference between a primary source and a secondary source. Maybe I'll explain that to them over here. So a primary source is something like, a hadith book, like Sunan ibn Majah. He has a direct reference to the source of that wording, right? Mm-hmm. You will have later sources, like, for example, Ibn Kathir in his tafsir, who came 600 years later, and he quotes the primary source. This is called the secondary source. It's very hard to make a case from secondary sources. They're practically worthless, historically speaking. You mostly want to look at primary sources and analyze, the reports from there. So what they do is they will go to every single book Allah has created in this world, and wherever they find this hadith, they're going to mention as if the author reported it. And that's not the case. Most of the quotes they bring are of later authors who are merely quoting the primary sources we are analyzing today. That's point number one. So it's like a fallacy. They present it to the Muslims as if, Ibn Kathir narrated this wording that supports, our stance. Ibn Kathir is not narrating. Ibn Kathir is a secondary source. Sakhawi is a secondary source. You cannot make them equivalent to a primary source in this debate. That's point number one. Point number two, and it's an important concept we need to understand before analyzing any hadith, is that a hadith may have an authentic basis in literature. However, a certain wording of that hadith may not be authentic, right? So there are stronger, more authentic wordings that vary for each hadith. And there are so many, even in Bukhari and Muslim, you'll have certain wordings that are more authentic than others. And so if you want to actually make a case, we have to go to the most authentic wording, right? Okay, so these are the 2 points I wanted to make before delving into the hadith. Now, regarding the hadith, okay, to be specific, it's transmitted through tens of books. The first report is a report that's transmitted through Sahih Muslim and Abu Dawud and Ibn Khuzaymah and Ibn Hibban and the Nasa'i and a lot of other sources. And what's beautiful about it is that it's transmitted through al-Bayt, actually. It's a hadith that Muslim transmits, and all of them, they transmit it through Hatim bin Ismail al-Madani, through Ja'far al-Sadiq, who transmits it through his father, Muhammad al-Baqir, who directly transmits the hadith from Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhu.
Are you saying that this is a hadith through Ja'far al-Sadiq and Sunni books, and that we're taking ilm from Ja'far al-Sadiq?
Yep, that's exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, go on.
Okay. Sorry, there may be some connection issues, so I'm just gonna speak and you tell me if you can't hear me that well, okay?
All right. Wa alaikum salam. Brother Noor has joined us. Better late than never, brother.
Can you hear me?
Alhamdulillah. Yeah, go on, Bu Sulayman. Seems like Bu Sulayman's having some connection issues. Brother Noor, can you hear me fine?
Okay, can you hear me now or not?
Okay, I can hear you. Yeah, go on. Oops, and there he goes. Brother Noor, are you? Can you hear me fine?
Yes, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, we just had some connection issues. If you don't mind, I'm sure you're very familiar with this topic. Abu Sulayman was just about to give us an introduction into some of the variant wordings of Hadith Thaqalayn. Would you mind sharing with us perhaps, you know, the authentic wording of the Hadith?
Well, before that, I have a different opinion. Yani, first we should discuss the context in which this Hadith was spoken.
Sounds good. Do share.
Because unless you know the context, like some of the brothers from the other side, they said that we believe in the school of thought which believes that every hadith has a context and has a rational perspective for that. So in this case, we should discuss the context in which the hadith was said by Prophet ﷺ. What was the reason he said this hadith?
Yes. All right,
okay,
great.
Fine.
Go on.
Okay. So basically, we believe that this hadith was mentioned when what happened was the background. Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, when he was returning from Yemen, he went to Makkah. So what happened in Yemen is that he took a slave girl as Khums, because you know that he had a share from Khums, being the close relative of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he took a slave girl as Khums, and he was the leader of that army. So the soldiers who were under his command, they were furious because...
Assalamu alaikum.
Okay, so the soldiers who were under his command, they were like, how could he take, we have spent so many days and we spend our energy, we spend our time and wealth and the share from the homes. So this was their objection. People would Raja against Ali. May Allah be pleased with him. So this reached the Prophet ﷺ, the behavior of people who were under the command of Ali. So as the rumors were spreading that Ali has done injustice towards the people and this and that, because see, even though he was the leader, but still he was the relative of Prophet ﷺ. So this is the reason Prophet ﷺ, when he went towards Khumm, Ghadir Khumm, he mentioned about taking care of his family, basically. So, yani, it was the proper wording of the hadith was narrated by Zayd ibn Arqam. Now I would like to read the hadith for you. Prophet ﷺ said that I am leaving among you two weighty things. The one being the book of Allah, in which there is guidance and the light. So hold fast to the book of Allah and adhere to it. And the Prophet ﷺ, exhorted us to hold fast the book of Allah, and then said, the second and are the members of my family. I remind you of your duties to the members of my family. Some words are in the brackets, like of your duties. The narrator then asked Zayd, who are the members of his household? So aren't his wife the members of his family? Thereupon he said, his wives are the members of his family, but here the members of his family are those for whom acceptance of sadaqah is forbidden. Now notice, the Sahabi who witnessed this event, because he is the eyewitness, how he understands this hadith. He is understanding the hadith on the condition that this is for those members of his family for whom sadaqah is forbidden. Why? You know why? Because in that situation, in that context, the people were objecting to Ali because he took something from his right. His right was to take khums from the booty. So people were objecting. So Prophet ﷺ was worried, because after him, when he leaves the world, what happens if people object the same way? Because see, the al-Bayt, or the people from his family, the close relatives of Prophet ﷺ, they didn't have the right to accept sadaqah, right? They didn't have the right to accept the charity. So that is why it would be problematic if people now object towards the khums. They have the right in the khums. So you don't have one way of not accepting the zakah, the sadaqah, and the other way people are objecting towards the khums. So it would be a huge, disastrous situation for the close relatives of Prophet ﷺ. This is the reason the mention of al-Bayt occurred. So it was because it occurred because one of the members from the close relatives of Prophet ﷺ, that is Ali, was targeted by some people for taking his right. His right was of khums. This is the reason Prophet ﷺ made a general announcement that you should take care of my family after me. In the sense, you don't have the right to accuse them of taking their own right, which is khums. If you read the hadith of khums, the Ghadir, you will see that Prophet ﷺ said that Ali he deserves more than just a slave girl. So this is the reason the mention of al-Bayt occurred in regards to Hadith Thaqalayn.
Barakallah feek. MashaAllah. Great points. Abu Sulayman, did you get that?
Yeah, I think my connection is good now, inshallah.
Inshallah. Basically, Brother Noor was saying, he was connecting Hadith Thaqalayn with Hadith al-Ghadir. Of course, it happened on the same day. Both narrations occur on the same day. And he argued that initially what happened was that the Sahaba had issues with the way that Ali took from the Khums, and the Rasulullah ﷺ was saying, take care of my Ahl al-Bayt, all right, أذكركم بأهل بيتي, in the sense that they are people that take care of their rights, because at the end of the day there are people who sadaqah is haram upon. MashaAllah, I love how he
Yep, good argument.
I love how he connected both of those narrations. Please, Akhi Abu Sulayman, give us some more details about the wording, and especially let's focus on this issue of Hajj and the narration of Jabir. What happened with Jabir? Yeah, please go on.
Okay, so just before I go in, yes, some of the reports of Hadith Thaqalayn do in fact mention that it happened in Ghadir Khumm, just as the Hadith of Zayd bin Arqam that the brother quoted earlier. However, in the Hadith of Jabir, as we will see, it's actually in Hajj, and so this sort of goes against the narrative they have, which was that the day on Ghadir, the day of Ghadir, was the day Allah revealed the wilaya, and it was the ceremony where Ali ibn Abi Talib, was the wasi after him, because this was also said earlier before that. So that's just one point I wanted to say. Now, regarding the Hadith of Imam Muslim, can you hear me, by the way? Just making sure.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's fine.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So Imam Muslim, rahimahullah, as we said, transmits the Hadith, ironically, as Shia might see it, through Ja'far al-Sadiq, through his father, Muhammad al-Baqir, who transmits the Hadith through Jabir bin Abdullah radiallahu anhu. And actually, the Hadith is very long, like if you read it, because basically, Muhammad al-Baqir asks Jabir about the Hajj of the Prophet ﷺ as a whole. And so he tells him every single detail the Prophet ﷺ did throughout the Hajj. And one of them was when he stood in front of the people and told them, I have left amongst you two things. I have left amongst you that which if you hold on to, you'll never be misguided. The book of Allah. You will also be asked about me on the day of resurrection. So tell me, what shall you say? And so all the Sahaba responded, they saying, we will bear witness that you have conveyed the message, and بلغت الرسالة, discharged and given wise counsel, وَدَّيْتَ الْأَمَانَ وَنَصَحْتَ الْأُمَّةِ. And then Jabir said, the Prophet ﷺ then raised his forefinger towards the sky, pointing at the people and said, "Oh Allah, bear witness, oh Allah, bear witness, oh Allah, bear witness," 3 times. And what's ironic is that the hadith that the Shia claim is, the wilaya of Ahl al-Bayt, when it's transmitted through Ahl al-Bayt, there is no mention of Ahl al-Bayt aslan in the whole hadith, as you can see. Another interesting point I wanted to mention about this hadith is if you actually read the early part of the hadith, which is where Muhammad al-Baqir meets the Sahabi Jabir. It's very nice, and it shows you the relationship the Sahaba and Ahl al-Bayt had. Basically, Muhammad al-Baqir says, we walked in on Jabir, and he was blind. He was very old at that age. And basically, he was asking each person, who he was. And then Muhammad al-Baqir said, when it was his turn, he said, I am Muhammad bin Ali ibn al-Husayn. And when Jabir heard this, he told him to get closer, and he caressed his head, and he put his hand on his chest, and he told him, ask me about anything you want, O son of my brother. This is an Arabic saying, to indicate that he's close to him. So that's just one point I wanted to show about the hadith. But as we can see, this is one of the most authentic asanid we have. There is not even a mention of Ahlul Bayt, and it's transmitted through Ahlul Bayt.
But Akhi, I just want to point something out. During the episode with Raza and Haroon, they insisted that in the narration of Jabir on Hajj, the Prophet ﷺ did mention Al-Quran and Ahlul Bayt.
So there's several lying, just making things up, and they don't actually have any evidence. That's one possibility. Or they could be going to one of the weak reports that we might mention, inshallah, to Jabir, that are different routes than Sahih Muslim.
Yes, I believe that's the case.
Yep, because the next report we can discuss, inshallah, is the report At-Tirmidhi and Al-Tabarani transmitted. Very similar isnad, however, it's through Zayd bin al-Hasan al-Anmati, through Ja'far bin Muhammad al-Sadiq, through Muhammad al-Baqir, from Jabir bin Abdullah, who said, I saw the Messenger of Allah during Hajj on the day of Arafah. he was upon his camel Qaswa giving a sermon. So he said, "O people, indeed I have left among you that which if you hold fast to, you shall not go astray. The book of Allah and my itrah, the members of my household." Well, this is probably the hadith they're referring to, the hadith of Jabir, where the Prophet ﷺ does, mention following al-Bayt. However, there's a big problem in this hadith. Why? It's transmitted through Zayd bin al-Hasan al-Mati, who is a very, very weak transmitter, as the muhaddithin have pointed out. So we cannot really rely on the weaker chain over the more authentic one, and prefer that. It's a very problematic methodology. And I also want to mention a point, Farid, if you don't mind, regarding this hadith.
Just very briefly. So you're saying that in the narration of Jabir, the authentic narration in Sahih Muslim only mentions the Quran, while the narration of Zayd bin Hasan al-Mati, which can be found in other books, mentions Al-Quran and Ahl al-Bayt during Hajj.
Yep, that's the case. By the way, feel free to question me whenever you want to clarify, so we can clarify the points I'm making.
All right, will do.
Okay, so this is a weaker report, and it's a very big flaw in methodology to take the weaker report and negate the more authentic one. Another point I want to mention is, maybe they appeal to this or not, the fact that Tirmidhi declared it to be Hasan Gharib. Some may fall into a contradiction or a mistake by assuming that this means that Tirmidhi believed it was authentic. However, any person who's seriously involved in the hadith sciences will recognize that that is not an authentication in any shape or form. At-Tirmidhi actually, in one of his books, al-Ilal al-Saghir, he defines what Hasan Gharib means. Hasan Gharib, basically, he says, any report that does not have a liar in its chain of transmission, nor is it shadh. Shadh means that it basically contradicts what other transmitters report.
Okay, it seems
like
you're breaking up. You're breaking up slightly, Abu Sulayman.
Okay, can you hear me now? Good?
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I think it's fine. You're discussing Tirmidhi's definition of al-Hasan.
Okay,
you need to repeat that. You need to repeat that, because that's a very important point.
Inshallah. So Tirmidhi describes the hadith as Hasan Gharib. These are two different terms he uses in one context. So first term is Hasan. Tirmidhi defines what Hasan means in his book al-Ilal al-Saghir. He basically says any hadith that does not have a liar in its isnad, a person known to be a liar, nor is the hadith shadh. Shadh means basically that it's contradictory to what the authentic transmitters from the same chain of transmission have transmitted, the other transmitters. And that hadith is transmitted through other chains of transmission. At-Tirmidhi will describe that hadith as Hasan. However, anyone, as I said, serious in the science of hadith, who's seriously involved in the science of hadith, we can't fall in that category.
You got
Why?
You got connection issues, Abu Sulayman. You got connection issues again. I'm gonna toss a question to Noor while you sort that out, Akhi, if you don't mind. Akhi Noor, someone in the comments asks a question or makes a comment. He says, "My God, you have strangely interpreted Hadith Thaqalayn in a hadith about charity money for the Ahl al-Bayt. In my opinion, you are deluding yourself with this interpretation. Please, my deluded brother Noor, share your thoughts."
Brother, this is not delusion. This is the understanding of an eyewitness. And it is reported in Sahih Muslim and other hadith books. And this is one of the most strongest sanad or chain that has been reported for Hadith Thaqalayn.
It's all the other. I know it's the only authentic narration, or the only Sahabi who has narrated Hadith Thaqalayn, Thaqalayn.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And if he's deluded, if Zayd bin Arqam is deluded, then we're stuck.
So, this is the issue. What happens is that people they want to take the hadith but they reject the eyewitness who understood this hadith, because you are just now discussing the hadiths are just scratching the surface of the knowledge. However, the Sahabi, he lived that event. He understands 10 times better the hadiths, which we are discussing now, because we are just scratching the surface, discussing asanid, or trying to make speculative arguments that this means that and that means this. However, the Sahabi, he knew why Prophet ﷺ spoke that. He knew it better, and especially the people who reported via Zayd bin Arqam, they did not object to the explanation given by him. They accepted wholeheartedly. And the Shia brothers, they quote Zayd bin Arqam when he says that, oh, here our wives are not meant, because for them accepting sadaqah is not acceptable. Yani, accepting sadaqah is haram. So you see that you contradict your own self. When something comes in your favor, you take it, and when something goes against you, you reject that Sahabi. That's not correct methodology. And the best way is to understand this hadith from an eyewitness perspective, how he understood the hadith. And it's not that he is the only one who is saying this thing. Secondly, we have some other external evidences which prove our point. For example, the hadith of Jabir bin Abdullah, which the brother just now quoted, that until the verse of completion of religion was revealed, the only source holding which people would not go astray was Quran. And this is reported via al-Bayt. That is Jafar bin Muhammad from Muhammad bin Bakr. So Muhammad al-Bakr, sorry. So this is narrated from them. They are the ones who narrated that only Quran was mentioned as a source holding which people will not go astray. And this hadith is even supported by another hadith from Abdullah ibn Umar, which is in Musnad al-Bazzar. He narrates the same event of the favorite sermon of Prophet ﷺ on Hajjat al-Wida. He narrates the same thing, and he mentions Quran alone as a source holding which people will not go astray. Addition to that, there are other hadiths from Abu Shurai al-Adawi and Jubair bin Mut'im, both narrated from Prophet ﷺ, that Quran alone is the source holding which people will not go astray. And this hadith is narrated in Silsila Sahiha, number 1713. And addition to that, you have the sermon of Ali radiallahu anhu in Nahj al-Balagha, where he mentions that Quran alone was left by Prophet ﷺ, which is a source of guidance. He does not mention anything about Ahl Bayt, referred to Sermon 1 of Nahj al-Balagha. So you see, we have external evidences also. It's not just Zayd bin Arqam is saying this. You have evidences from Ahl Bayt, narrated via Ahl Bayt, narrated via other Sahabas like Abdullah ibn Umar. So there is no chance of error here. And this is a very academic and a very rational view, a rational methodology to follow, because you have some. You are just not following one path. You are seeing this from multi-angular view. You see that from different angles. This is proven that only Quran was mentioned as a source of guidance, holding which people will not go astray. In regards to the understanding of Zayd bin Arqam, if you want to reject it, you should bring something equally strong from Sunni sources which could refute that. You cannot just say that, it's illogical for me, or it's illogical to me. You cannot say that, because there is a context to everything, and we have discussed the context. It was in the context of Khumm, and when Prophet ﷺ saw that people are objecting, one of his close relative when he took Khums, so when they objected, he mentioned that these are my al-Bayt, you have to take care of them. So
Allah barak fik.
basically, the Sahaba understood that it is for those people from his family on whom sadaqah, the acceptance of sadaqah is forbidden.
It's very, very clear, Akhi. It's a very clear point. Barakallah fik. Now, here's something that Raza has mentioned. I think it was Raza who mentioned this in his during their show. He said that let's assume that the hadith is actually about taking care of Ahlul Bayt and it's not about holding on to Ahlul Bayt. He said, let's assume that. He said, but Sunnis did not hold on to Ahlul Bayt. Excuse me, he said Sunnis did not take care of Ahlul Bayt. And what happened to Ahlul Bayt is tragedies occurred to Ahlul Bayt, and people of Ahlul Bayt were killed left, right, and center. How would we respond to that?
Well, in that case, firstly, this hadith is about taking care of Ahlul Bayt in regards to their financial needs. And if you refer to the golden era of Islam, that is Prophet described as the period which will be on the prophetic methodology. The caliphate will be on prophetic methodology, and that will be 30 years after him. So in that period, you will see that the Ahlul Bayt were in a very good state. They had properties. They even until Muawiyah radiallahu anhu, he used to give huge sum of gifts to Hassan radiallahu anhu, Hussein radiallahu anhu. In the time of Umar radiallahu anhu, he gave them. He put them ahead instead of other Sahaba. He would give them a good share from the homes, and this is reported, and even the Shias accept this fact. They know that this happened. They have reports wherein Muawiyah radiallahu anhu used to give Hassan radiallahu anhu huge gifts, and this happened until Muawiyah radiallahu anhu. After that, what happened? It didn't just happen to Ahlul Bayt. It even happened to the Sahaba whom we adhere, whom we hold in high esteem. And that was a catastrophe, and the whole ummah was went under trial.
I would like to point. I'd also like to point something else. I'd like to add something. Raza actually said something very interesting. He said, look at what the children of Abbas did. What did Bani Abbas do to the children of Ali? And there a lot of the children of Ali were killed by Bani Abbas. Some of them, of course, made khuruj upon Bani Abbas, and then, of course, that's what led to that. And some, of course, were completely non-justified. But what's really interesting about what happened there is that Bani Abbas, according to Zayd bin Arqam, are Ahl al-Bayt as well. So it's not like it's quite a strange situation we have here, where Bani Abbas were Ahl al-Bayt, and you have others who are Ahl al-Bayt as well, and there was infighting between the two. But yeah, I agree with what you said earlier on. The main focus of the narration is to help them out and to be kind to them. And of course, it's a general wasiyah. And those who went against this, of course, do sin. And they are privileged to be linked to the Prophet ﷺ by blood. Abu Sulayman, do you have anything to add about the wordings or any comments on what we've been saying? Abu Sulayman's got a terrible connection today. All right. I'd like to add something to the mix. If we were going to assume that the narration about holding onto Ahl al-Bayt, if we're going to assume that if we are going to assume that the correct narration is holding onto Ahl al-Bayt and not just being kind to Ahl al-Bayt, but it's holding onto Ahl al-Bayt, then Shi'is have a bit of a problem, because Ahl al-Bayt are not limited to 12 infallibles plus the Prophet ﷺ plus Fatima. Ahl al-Bayt is everyone. everyone from, everyone who's closely related to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and their descendants. Now, Al-Hakim al-Nizapuri in Ma'rifat Ulum al-Hadith does quite an interesting job. He says that the authentic narrations of the Prophet ﷺ, he says that there are authentic narrations attributed to the children of the Prophet ﷺ, and they have come through the paths of Fatima, al-Hassan, al-Hussein, al-Hassan bin Ali, Abdullah, al-Hassan, Ali, and Zayd, the children of al-Hassan, okay, bin Hassan bin Ali, and Amr bin Hassan bin Ali, and Muhammad bin Amr bin Hassan bin Ali, and Hassan bin Zayd bin Hassan bin Ali, and Musa bin Abdullah bin Hassan bin Hassan, and Muhammad bin Abdullah bin Hassan bin Ali, and Ali bin Hussein bin Ali, and Fatima bint al-Hussein bin Ali, and Muhammad and Abdullah and Zayd and Umar and Hussein bin Ali bin Hussein, and Ja'far bin Muhammad bin Ali, and Hussein bin Zayd bin Ali. And then he said, those are those who have authentic narrations attributed to them. And there are around 200 members, male and female, from Ahl al-Bayt who have narrated hadiths. So ya Shi'a, if we are going to be talking about who takes their religion from Ahl al-Bayt and who holds on to Ahl al-Bayt, we can see clearly that Sunnis take their narrations and take their hadiths from Ahl al-Bayt in general, and don't just limit them to a very small specific group of people. And my challenge to Shi'is is, where is the dalil? What is the dalil? What is the evidence that Ahl al-Bayt, when Rasulullah ﷺ says, take care of Ahl al-Bayt or hold on to Ahl al-Bayt, what is the dalil that this is limited to those 14 people? If you are going to say linguistically, then you have fallen into a huge mistake, because there's no such thing in the language that says that the only person from Ahl al-Bayt is one cousin and his children. Okay, that's why Zayd bin Arqam was clear. He said it's all the children of Ali, all the children of Abbas, all the children of whom else, Noor? He mentioned two others. All the children of Ali and Abbas, and who else?
Just a minute, let me see the narration. Hold on. It's al-Ali wa al-Aqil wa al-Ja'far wa al-Abbas.
Aywa, the children of Aqil, the children of Ja'far, the children of Ali, and the children of Abbas. All of them fall under Ahl al-Bayt. The Itra, if we return to al-Nihaya fi Gharib al-Hadith wal-Athar by Ibn Athir, one of Raza's favorite sources, he says that the Itra of a man are the closest people to him, and the Itra of the Prophet ﷺ are the children of Abdul Muttalib. And he said, Qila, it is said that Ahl al-Bayt are the closest people to him, and they're the children of Ali and his children. And it is said it's the close and the far people who are related to Rasulullah ﷺ. So even linguistically, the correct view is that it's the closest people in general. It's not a specific amount of people limiting it to 12. Because remember, Ja'far al-Sadiq had a lot of children, al-Hussein had a lot of children, al-Hassan had a lot of children. Why are you limiting it to 12 people?
I would just like to add one point.
Please do.
In the Arabic dictionary, Lisan al-Arab, volume 4, page number 536 by Ibn Mansur, he describes the meaning of Itra. He says that, and what is famously recognized is that his Itra, yani Prophet ﷺ Itra, are the people of his household, and they are those upon whom zakah and the mandatory sadaqah is prohibited. And they are the relatives who are due a fifth of the spoils of war mentioned in Surah Al-Anfal.
All right.
So they are those on whom acceptance of sadaqah is forbidden. So basically, what Zaid bin Arqam said.
I'm gonna toss another question to you now. Raza said that the reason why differences occur between Ahl Sunnah. Okay, now check this out. Yeah, he says it's because we take our narrations from the Sahaba, and the Sahaba differed among each other, and due to that, we have differences of opinions in religion. How would you respond to that?
Well, he basically, like I heard his video. Watched his video. He mentioned basically that uh, the confusions and differences arose amongst the different sects, because everyone claims that he's following the Sunnah. But from whom did you acquire the Sunnah? That's the main question. He says that the best people, and as per the Hadith of Thaqalayn, from whom you should acquire the Sunnah are Ahlul Bayt, and this is the meaning he tried to imply on Hadith Thaqalayn. However, this is uh, really absurd understanding and absurd view. You know why? Because if you refer the historical context of Islam, you'll find that there are a lot of hadiths from Prophet ﷺ wherein Prophet ﷺ himself said people to teach Sunnah to people, to different tribes. He didn't say, "Oh Ali, you are my Ahlul Bayt, you should go." He didn't say, "Oh Abbas, you are my Ahlul Bayt, you should go." He didn't say that. He sent his Sahaba. And there are a lot of hadiths. I mean, there is a very good article written on You Punctured the Ark. It's a blog. People could refer that blog and see an article named "Smashing the Myth of Taking Ahl Bayt as the Only Conveyors of Islamic Knowledge." A lengthy article has been written wherein you will find a lot of evidences provided which actually destroys this myth which people have, which even Raza shares. So this is a myth, and if you want, I can cite you few hadiths which are authentic, which this shatters this myth. You'll see in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, hadith number 2658, which is Sahih. Prophet said that, "May Allah beautify a man who hears a saying of mine, so he understands it, remembers it, and conveys it."
Right.
And it's a lengthy hadith. So he didn't restrict conveying the knowledge or a sunnah to just a specific group or specific family. No, it's not like that. It was for all. And you can even see other hadiths, like Prophet said in Sahih Bukhari, volume 4, book number 56, hadith number 667, convey my teachings in the bracket to the people, even if it were a single sentence, and tell others the stories of Bani Israel, and the hadith is lengthy. So the Prophet also made a general command to people. So there are a lot of hadiths. You can check out the article named "Smashing the Myth" on You Punctured the Ark.
Inshallah, we'll include the link in the description. Guys, we're opening up the door to some questions. If you have any questions
excuse me,
related to Thaqalayn.
I have
yeah, we'll get to it. Inshallah,
no,
definitely.
Okay, it's a very important point.
Go for it. Go for it. I just want to, because it takes some time for people to think up of questions, so I'm just letting them know.
The incorrectness and the faultiness of the version of Hadith Thaqalayn, which says that you have to hold on to both Quran as well as Ahl Bayt in regards to seeking guidance and to be upon the straight path. This version, the incorrectness of this version is proven from Quran, because this version, if you follow it, it goes against a clear verse of Quran. If you read the verse of Quran in Surah An-Nisa, verse number 59, it says that "Ati Allah wa ati Rasul wa ul amr minkum fantanadatukum wa raddu obey Allah and obey the Prophet and the people of authority amongst you. And if you differ among yourselves, refer it back to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, refer it to Allah and Prophet." So you see that the unconditional obedience or adherence is only for Allah and His Prophet, not for anyone else. Anyone else
Aywa.
beside Allah and Prophet, their obedience or their adherence is conditional. And this
Aywa.
is proven from Quran. And the brothers who the opposite side, they believe they have a rule that any hadith which goes against Quran is to be thrown on the wall, is to be rejected. And this hadith, this understanding, actually not this hadith, this version actually, the faulty version, the incorrect version, not only that, it goes against the authentic version, it even goes against Quran. So as per the rule which they follow, they should reject this version and follow the Quran. So we
Barakallah
are
feek.
the Ahl Sunnah, alhamdulillah, have held the thaqal, the greater thaqal, which is Quran, and we are understanding hadith in the light of Quran. We are not just taking hadith and we are implying our emotions that whatever suits our desires we take it, and whatever doesn't suit our desire or belief or our agenda we reject it. No, it's not like we are using the Quran. You see, this unconditional obedience was not for anyone from Ulul Amr, be it anyone. Their obedience is conditional as per the verse of Quran, because you see the verse refers, and especially I would like to point out that this verse is so deadly for them that their scholars, for example, Baqir al-Majlisi in Mirat al-Uqul, he authenticated a hadith from their Imam. He said, I guess he said it's Hassan, wherein the Imam says that this verse had an additional portion, you know, where it says that refer it back to Allah and Prophet. He said that there was an additional portion. So you see, even he believes that the current version, the version which we have now in Quran, which we recite, which is being followed, is not against them, because the Imam, they have the hadith they have says that the current version is against them. It says that you can disagree with them. So if suppose the hadith meant the original version was such that you have the Quran is the Ahl-Bayt are on par with Quran and they're on the same level, and you have to adhere both of them, then how could it be that Allah subhanahu will say that you can disagree with them, you can dispute with them?
Okay,
So
so
obviously,
I'd like to reiterate your point just to get the message across. The verse says, of course, it says, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu ati'u Allah wa ati'u ar-rasula wa ulil amri minkum." Okay, which translates to, "O you who believe, obey Allah and obey the apostle and those in authority from among you." Now, those, of course, the Shi'as, they interpret those in authority among you to be the Imams. The verse continues, فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. That's it. Okay? It says, then if you quarrel about anything, refer it to Allah and the Apostle. That's it. There's nothing about referring our quarrels to those in authority. There's nothing about referring our quarrels to Ahl al-Bayt or whatever.
exactly,
And that
exactly.
is why the Shi'as have attributed a narration to one of their Imams which says that this is where the Quran has been tampered with. And the real verse, according to the Imam is فَإِن تَنَازَعْتُمْ فِي شَيْءٍ فَرُدُّوهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ, which means, and if you quarrel about anything, refer it to Allah and the Apostle and those in authority from among you. This does not exist in the Quran. All right. One of the brothers asked, or he made a comment, and this is something that needs to be pointed out, or needs to be briefly at least discussed. One of the brothers mentioned there's a variation that says that the Thaqalayn will be with us until they return to the Hawd, until they return to the Prophet ﷺ, at the fountain on the Day of Judgment. Briefly, my response to this is that what's meant by this is the amana, the trust. Rasulullah ﷺ has entrusted us with the Quran, and this will be entrusted to us until that day, until the day of judgment. And he has entrusted us with Ahl al-Bayt, and we are to take care of Ahl al-Bayt until the day of judgment. That's the basic response to this. And again, in that variation, it can be found in Tabarani. There is nothing about holding on to Ahl al-Bayt. So again, there is not a single authentic hadith about holding on to Ahl al-Bayt. We have a couple of more questions, Akhi. But it seems like most of them don't have anything to do with the topic. just give me a second.
If it's not related to topic, we can go through the arguments raised by the brothers in their recent video.
Yeah, please do mention the argument and do mention your response. But do keep it brief.
Before that, I would like to just add a point in regards to the understanding of Zayd bin Arqam. I would like to say that the proof which says that even Sahabi didn't understand from this hadith that it has anything to do, the mention of Ahl al-Bayt had nothing to do with guidance, is the proof that he believed that Ahl al-Bayt in this hadith are people among who could be unrighteous people, among who could be sinners, and fusaq. There could be fusaq in al-Abbas or al-Akhil or al-Jafar. They could be, not everyone among them were righteous and infallible. So the understanding of Sahabi, the general understanding they had for the hadith, it's proof, a clear proof that he never believed that the hadith had anything to do with guidance. You have to adhere to them. If it had anything to adhere to them, then he wouldn't have said that it refers to al-Akhil and al-Abbas or al-Jafar, because obviously not everyone among them were righteous. And even the Shias believe this. They don't disagree that there were people among al-Abbas or al-Akhil or al-Jafar who were unrighteous.
Here's a question that's related by Angry Pat. He says about the Shia, he says accepting some Ahl al-Bayt and rejecting others. Specifically, what is their belief about Ibn Abbas?
They have a lot of differences, and I think Hassan is the guy to whom this question should be posed. And he's the one who has done a lot of research, because you see they have conflicting reports in regards to Abbas radiallahu anhu or Ibn Abbas. So some of them say that we hold Ibn Abbas in high esteem, some of them say that we don't. So wallahu alam, eventually I guess they because what I've seen that they hold Ibn Abbas in good esteem, they respect him. And this is the general view about Ibn Abbas.
Yeah, it seems like
Farid
there's a different
wants to add something.
Yeah, it seems like there's a difference of opinion about Ibn Abbas. Wallahu alam, but there seems to be So here's one. Even though it's not authentic, but here's a narration. If you go back to Rajal Kashi is one of my favorite Shi'a books, because it contains biographical information, detailed biographical information about narrators. I wish it was bigger. I wish we had the full thing. What we have is a summary of the book. But here's, for example, the first narration in the section about Ibn Abbas. Al-Baqir says that he heard Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali saying, Allahumma curse the children of Fulan, which is Al-Abbas, okay, and blind them in the same way that you have blinded their hearts. So subhanallah, or let me just carry on. Okay, and make the blindness of their eyes an evidence of the blindness of their hearts. So you do find some narrations are very harsh about Ibn Abbas. Um, However, I'm sure
Exactly.
I've seen some narrations that speak well of Ibn Abbas, because as we all know, Ibn Abbas was Ali's representative, I believe, in al-Basra. And if that's the case, then why would Ali, put him? Yeah, yeah. Why would Ali put him as the representative of al-Basra if Ibn Abbas
Exactly.
is be
So
such a
that's
bad
why
person?
this is why I concluded, to be fair, because we are people who are fair, and we don't hide information, we don't hide people's perspectives, and we want to be fair. And to be fair, even though they have conflicting reports, but the eventual conclusion is that they hold Ibn Abbas in good esteem. They are in their good books.
Right, right.
Now let's go through the lecture the brothers gave. I have just made some few points. I would like to just briefly discuss each point. The first point they made was that the state of Ahl Sunnah have degraded the status of Ahl Bayt. This was their first argument, and the answer to this is that no, we haven't. However, if you are looking from the position where you are now, because you, in our view, have exceeded the limit of moderation. You have exaggerated their position. So from your perspective, obviously, our view and our view of Ahl Bayt would look like we have dishonored them, how or degraded them. If you want to understand our view, it's best to look at how Christians would look at you in regards to your status of Isa alayhi salam. It's that you respect Isa, you love him. However, in the view of a Christian, you have degraded his status. Sawalala.
Right,
So,
right.
so in the same way, when you look at Sunnis, you think that Sunnis have dishonored them. However, we love them, and we have practical proof for that because we have one of the most common name among our society is Ali. We have names as Hassan, we have names as Hussein. We love them. And the other proof is that if you go to a random Sunni mosque, you will see that after the khutbah of Jummah, you will see that there was this praise for Khulafa Rashidin, Abu Bakr, Omar, Usman, and Ali. It's not like we mention three Sahaba and we exclude Ali. It's not like that. We respect and honor him as he deserves and should be respected in accordance to Quran and Sunnah. We don't exaggerate in loving Ahlul Bayt. And if you go to any random Sunni mosque where the names of Sahaba are written, not every mosque, but there are some mosques which have the name of Sahaba written. You'll see that the name, along with the name of three Khulafa, the name of Ali is also written. It's not like we are unjust towards Ali and we hold a hidden grudge against him. No, it's not like that. We love him, but in the limits. So to you, like to a Christian, even your view, the Muslim view, might look like a degradation of the state of Isa. To you, even our view looks like a degradation, and the Shias, they try to counter back saying that no, we haven't exaggerated in regards to status of Ali. It's the people who are Nusayris or Alawis or those who believe in Tawheed, like this, they are the people, not we. So, brother, the moment you believe that Ali was infallible and he was divinely appointed by Allah, that in itself is an exaggeration.
Wow.
You can say that is the first level of exaggeration because even exaggeration have different levels. The Nusayris may be at the last level, however, you are at the bottom, but still you are in the level of exaggeration because as per Quran, no one
Are you having
verse
mic
I
issues?
to show you.
Okay.
The best was the verse I showed you. The verse of Surah An-Nisa was 59. The verse is actually annihilates the concept of infallibility for anyone after Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. For anyone, be it anyone, bring any candidate. If you claim that he is infallible, then this verse annihilates that person. Be it, you might say that certain Sunni or Sufi believes this and that, regardless, because the main judge is Quran. We judge people on based on Quran and Sunnah. And as for the Quran, and your rule says that anything that goes against Quran should be rejected, and we are doing the same. So you should be proud that we are following Quran, alhamdulillah. So this is the view, and this is the response in regards to our degradation of status of al-Bayt. And it's yani, I guess there are sermons in Nahj al-Balagha also, wherein Ali said something along these lines. He said that there would be two groups that would be ruined, one due to extreme love for me, and one
Wow.
due to enmity against. So we are on the moderate path, and you have exceeded the path of the level of exaggeration. You love in on the extremes, even though that would be the bottom level of exaggeration, but still you have entered the range of extremism, exaggeration.
Okay, I'm going to comment on one thing that they've said, and then I'm going to toss another question to you by one of the viewers. I forgot to comment about this one thing. They said that Ahl Sunnah fall into ikhtilafat, fall into differences when it comes to religious rulings because they do not take their religion from Ahl al-Bayt. There are two huge issues with this statement. The first issue is that Raza has unfortunately never opened up or has never seen a copy of
Of his own books.
al-Istibsar
Yes,
by
exactly.
al-Tusi. 4 volumes of contradictions by whom? By the Imams. Now,
Exactly.
we have two ways of explaining this away. Either the Imams were purposefully contradicting each other, which is actually the Shi'i view because they're performing taqiyya, or the other view is that the people narrating from the Imams were lying or were, of course, fallible people, so they'd make mistakes. So the question or the argument gets tossed back at them. They say, we follow Sahaba instead of following an infallible. And we say the same to you guys. You follow the companions of the Imams who are fallible, and that's why you're following into these contradictions and mistakes and conflicting narrations. Your case is not better than ours. In fact, your case is a lot worse than ours. Again, al-Istibsar by Tusi, 4 volumes of contradictions. Here's a question. One of the viewers asks, why
I would like to
isn't...
add. I would like to add something on this answer you gave.
All right,
I would like to add that
please briefly.
yes, because Sheikh Tusi, he's one of the biggest scholars, and he's called Sheikh Taifa. He wrote in his book Uddat al-Usul, volume 1, page 354, that I found different ways in legal rulings. One of them issues a fatwa which his contemporary does not. These differences exist in all chapters of jurisprudence, from those concerning the laws of ritual purity in tahara to the chapter of indemnity, al-diyat, and on the questions of worship. So your scholar is saying that there exist differences among them in each and every chapter. And
Subhanallah.
the same scholar later says that not even one chapter of fiqh is safe unless you find the scholars of Jafri, yani the sect, different in it. And yes, in the same book, he says that if you observe their differences in the rulings, you would find that they differ more than the difference between Abu Hanifa, Malik, and Shafi'i.
MashaAllah.
So,
I'd like to comment. I'd like to briefly mention this cute little story that happened to me. I was discussing with a brother. I believe he is from Ghana, if I'm not mistaken. And he said to me, he denied that there are differences between Ahl al-Bayt, and the Ahl al-Bayt contradicted each other. I opened up a random page in the Istibsar, and it was about prayer timings. And there's like 8 narrations in which the Imam says that Maghrib starts when the sun sets, exactly when the sun sets. So the same time that Sunnis pray Maghrib, they should pray Maghrib. And then there's like another 10 narrations in the same chapters. Like the chapters, like half the narrations fit in with Sunni belief, and the other half, you know, have this alternative belief which says that you're supposed to pray when the redness of the eastern sky can no longer be seen. Okay, called al-Humra al-Mashriqiyya. When the eastern sky is no longer red, then you can pray. And that's when Maghrib starts. And the guy would not accept it. He said to me that I haven't, that's the same thing, that when the sun goes down, you can no longer see the redness of the sky. So he actually had me, you know, shoot video of the redness of the sky changing between the exact time of Maghrib up until I think like 12 to 15 minutes after. And Akhi, when I did that and I showed him the difference of the colors of the sky, the brother still denied it. Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal. But again, I suggest for my beloved Shi'i brothers and sisters, please pick up Kitab al-Istibsar by al-Tusi and look at the mess that's in that book. Quick question. One asks, who is Khadijah? Is Khadijah a member of Ahl al-Bayt?
Exactly, she is. All the wives of Prophet ﷺ are from Ahl al-Bayt.
I mean, do Shi'as consider Khadijah to be a member of Ahl al-Bayt?
No, actually not. For them, Ahl al-Bayt are only يعني Ali radiallahu anhu, Fatima radiallahu anha, Hassan and Hussein, and the rest of the Imams. May Allah be pleased with them all.
Very important question linked to this. They always use Hadith al-Kisa. Alhamdulillah, I mean, I didn't forget this, man, because that would have been a tragedy. They use Hadith al-Kisa to say that Ahl al-Bayt are limited to the Prophet ﷺ, Fatima, Ali, and al-Hassan and al-Hussein. And the Rasulullah ﷺ.
Very good question. Very good question. I was going to come to this question because they discussed in the lecture which brothers gave.
Right.
On
so he put the cloak,
TV, they discussed. Yes.
Them. He put the cloak above them, and then he said, "Oh Allah, these are my Ahl al-Bayt." How do you respond to this? How isn't this a clear definition of who Ahl al-Bayt are?
Yes. Before this, I would like to just advertise something. The question you asked just before this one, this was answered in detail in the blog named "You Punctured the Ark Again." And there is a story behind the name "You Punctured the Ark." It's related to the Hadith of Safina, you know, because they are the ones who have punctured the Ark. The name of the article is "Why Islamic Teachings Should Never Be Taken from Shia Sources." If you go to this article, you will see a lot of material there from Shia sources as well as Sunni sources, which gives you the reason why you should not takes Islamic teaching from their sources, because you'll find a mess in their books, and that has been admitted by their own scholar, to the point that a lot of Shia scholars and Shias, they left Shiism, and this has been attested by their own scholars. They said that a lot of Shias left the madhab due to these conflicts. So moving forward, in regards to Hadith al-Kisa, but brother, you know, the biggest unfortunate incident is that a lot of Sunnis, they don't know the difference between Hadith al-Kisa and Hadith al-Thaqalayn. Because the moment they hear Hadith al-Kisa, they try to fit this hadith in Hadith al-Thaqalayn. However, this is completely incorrect, because one of the reasons I gave you about how Ibn Zayd ibn Arqam explained the hadith. And the second reason is that even the Shias, you know, there was a Shia, a famous Shia, who know them, his name was Tayyib al-Ulawi. Me and him were in a theoretical debate. So he wrote some refutations, then I responded back. And meanwhile, when I cornered this guy, he admitted the fact, you know, I have a screenshot of that. This guy admitted that Fatima radiallahu anha is not included in the Ahl al-Bayt mentioned in Hadith al-Thaqalayn. Now, this might come as a shocker to a lot of Shias as well as Sunnis. It's a shock
to me.
If you look at their Hadith, which explains the members who are Ahl al-Bayt in regards to Hadith al-Thaqalayn, you will not find the name of Fatima radiallahu anha in that.
Ajib. It's crazy.
And this guy quoted, this guy just didn't make this argument out of thin air. He backed his view with their own authentic hadith from Al-Kafi and other books. And in that, basically, they meant that this hadith al-Thaqalayn is only for the Imams. It's not for Fatima radiallahu anha. So people
please,
who...
Akhi, please, I have to cut you off. In which book? Give me a book. You need to give me a source for this one.
Al-Kafi.
Okay, so volume 1, Usul al-Kafi?
Just a second. If you want the exact reference, then I'll search it and give you. Could you hold? Because Hassan is here, you can carry on. I'll just.
Inshallah. Angry Path, I don't have any book recommendations for the biography of Ali in the English language, unfortunately. Arabic, I do have recommendations. A book by Sheikh al-Faqihi called Khilafat Ali is a wonderful book. It's the best book in the subject. Easily more recommended than Salabi's works. Hassan, are you there?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. What a surprise.
Imam Zaman will come whenever he wants.
Late better than never, but yani, alhamdulillah, we can all rejoice. We can all. I'm assuming the chat is going to go crazy right about now.
More faida, more benefit than Imam Zaman in 1,200 years.
MashaAllah alaik.
Hopefully. So Hadith al-Thaqalayn, you discussed, you went through all the chain. I heard the beginning a little bit.
Hassan, I want you to answer this. Right?
Brother, I just found the hadith. There are different hadiths, but I found just one.
Okay.
It's from the book of Shaykh al-Saduq.
Yeah.
The book name is Hadith al-Thaqalayn wa Maqamat al-Ahl al-Bayt, page 120.
But what's the name of Saduq's book?
The book name is Hadith al-Thaqalayn wa Maqamat al-Ahl al-Bayt.
He doesn't have a book with that name.
There's probably a chapter or something. Could be.
But this guy, I'm quoting this guy who quoted this hadith. His name was Tayyib al-Ulawi. He quoted this book and he tried to... I can read you the chain.
Please.
Sheikh al-Saduq said, Ahmad bin Ibn Ziyad ibn al-Jafar al-Hamdani narrated from Ali ibn Ibrahim, narrated from his father, from Muhammad bin Abi Umair, from Khayz ibn Ibrahim, from Imam Sadiq,
from what? From Ibrahim?
From Ghayath
ibn Ibrahim. All right. MashaAllah.
From al-Sadiq Jafar bin Muhammad, from his father Muhammad bin Ali, from his father Ali ibn Hussein, from his father Hussein said Amir al-Mu'minin Ali was asked about the saying of the Prophet, I'm leaving among you two weighty things, the book of Allah and my itra. He was asked, who are the itra? He replied, me, al-Hasan, al-Hussein, and the 9 imams from the progeny of Imam Hussein. The 9th one is the Mahdi and the Qaim.
Now, you see what's very interesting about this is it's an authentic report. Just by reading the chain, I know these guys. I know these punks, man.
So you see, this is the hadith this guy quoted, Tayyib. He quoted this hadith, and he based on these, not just one, he quoted multiple different reports, and based upon that, this guy, he said, I'm quoting him verbatim. He said, we proved through our authentic hadith that Sayyidah Fatima salam alayhi alayha is not part of al-Bayt alayhi salam, mentioned in Hadith Thaqalayn or Hadith Khalifatain, because she is not a Khalifa.
Allahu Akbar.
Brother, quickly, just very briefly, Brother Asif Hussein, the book, I believe, is printed in Dar ibn al-Jawzi, if I'm not mistaken, or Maktabat al-Rushd in al-Khubar, and not printed in al-Raza, to answer your question. Hassan, question to you, Barakallah fik.
No.
Is they always use Hadith al-Kisa to prove that al-Thaqalayn are Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Fatima, Ali, al-Hassan, al-Hussein.
Okay.
What's our response to this?
Our response to this is, and Ahl Sunnah pay attention now. Ahl Sunnah pay very good attention. Learn this qaida. This is in a general sense. Generally, whatever the Rafida use against Ahl Sunnah, generally speaking, is an evidence against them. I'll give you an example here. And this is due to the superiority of the beliefs of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Our beliefs are based on muhkamat, unambiguous verses and text from the Quran, i.e. from the Quran and from the Sunnah. Whereas they, even if they quote authentic text, i.e. Quran, or let's say Sahih Hadith, they either make tahrif of it. Tahrif is not just to believe something is distorted. Tahrif is to cut it in half, as they do with Hadith, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ, verse Ayat al-Tathir. So the answer to this here, you said Kisa, isn't it? Yeah?
Yep.
Huh?
Yep.
The answer is, even if we were to surrender and say to the Rafida, Tayyib, Mashi, no problem. Let's go with your narrative. So this hadith proves the infallibility, the khilafah, superpowers, ilmul ghaib, everything your Rafida desire for these five, right? Because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam covered these five with his cloak, isn't that?
Mm-hmm.
Even if we were, yani look how superior Ahl Sunnah are. Even if we were to give them all of this, it will backfire for them. Why? Because then we would ask, Tayyib, for the sake of argument only, not in reality, for the sake of argument we agree to that. But by definition then, how on earth, with what justification do you add Zayn al-Abidin, al-Baqir, al-Sadiq, al-Kazim, al-Ridha, Taqi and Naqi and Co and everybody else into the cloak? Do you understand? Yani with what justification can the Shia then say the other Imams are also infallible, purified, when they were not even under the cloak? Do you understand?
Makes sense.
I'd like to add something.
Excuse me, let me add one more thing. Do you know what the scholars say? Do you know what the scholars say? Each of them more or less the same thing. I listen to Yasser Habib, to Kamal al-Haidari. There is no one bigger than these people who are the top debaters and the top so-called bahithin researchers. Wallahi, in one of the lectures, Yasser Habib said, oh yeah, well, that's by extension. By extension, the following Imam includes the other Imam. Huh? And you see, and then they criticize Bani Umayyah for this, what do you call it, when you pass...
Monarchy.
Like monarchy, yeah. So, yani, look at the maskhara. Look what a shaky belief. Because it is not from Allah, because the deen of the Shia is not from Allah, you will, even if the Sunni were to, for the sake of argument, give them what they want, yeah, that, all right, these five, because they were under the cloak, are now purified completely, absolutely ma'soom, then we ask them, and about the rest, where's the dalil, where's the hujjah, where's the kisa for Baqir and Sadiq? Where is it? You can't give me as a Sunni, I'm your opponent. You have to bring me a strong, muhkam dalil. You can't just say, oh, 12 khulafa hadith. That's about khulafa. Baqir and Sadiq were no khalifa. You can't just say by extension, oh yeah, the next Imam said so. Where said so? Where? Where in history did Imam number 4 stood on the minbar and said, Ayyuhan nas, after me this is the Imam. Where's the hujjah? And the funniest thing is, the Rafida called their 12 Imams Hujjajullah. You know what Hujjah means? Hujjah is an absolute clear-cut proof from Allah, i.e. the Quran, i.e. the messengers. And indeed, these things are Hujjajullah. But Taqi and Naqiya Hujjatullah, Allah made this Hujjah clear to the world, to Christians, Jews, and everybody to follow them. Where is the Dalil? That is why they're hesitant and do not want to debate Imama with me or with anybody else. They try their utmost to debate Adalat al-Sahabe, yeah, and other things. Why? Because Adalat al-Sahabe, like that one guy says, they can hours and hours talk about Muawiyah ate this, Muawiyah went there, Umar ibn Khattab, sure you can, I don't know, Fatima, while Ali bin Abi Talib was God knows what he did, billah. All of this is, I'm not insulting the great man. These people insult this great man and this great woman with their fabricated beliefs. So anyway, do you understand, Ya Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah? Even if, yani, be proud, irfa ra'sak, raise your hand, Ya Sunni, Ya Bakri. Be proud of your beliefs. Be proud to be a Sunni. I am ashamed to be a born Shia. The only reason sometimes I'm invited, how many shows did I make about my life? Although over 10 years I left Shiism, with a lot of pushing, Muhammad Hijab managed me to get and tell my story. If I were obsessed, I would go everywhere and make 100 shows. I speak 4 languages. I don't. Because I don't, for me, it would be an honor to be born Sunni, Orthodox, Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. So be proud, Ya Sunni. All your beliefs, are based on muhkamat, clear-cut evidences, whereas they have to play with text, have to play with the Quran, have to cut verses. And even those evidences which from the zahir, from the apparent, for a second, look as if the text is on their side, is what? In reality and evidence against them. I dare them to debate with me Hadith al-Thaqalayn. I dare them to debate with me as a Shia Hadith al-Kisa. I dare them to debate Imama from the Quran. They will not. Because it's like, do you know Holland cheese? Or is it Swiss cheese? Full of holes. The best evidence is like 1,000 holes you see in there. Just for the ignorant person from the Zahir and with a lot of Mazlumiyah, Zionist-like victimhood role, they can convince, of course, Du'afa al-Aqul and whatnot. People who are weak-minded or very ignorant, plus emotional. Otherwise, not the people of knowledge, not Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, not our learned people. So I hope that it's clear that Hadith al-Kisa in reality refutes their madhab. Because at best, it proves their isma. At best, it proves the isma of 5. Of course, it doesn't. But I mean, even if we were to give it to them.
Allah barak fik, Hassan. Inshallah, in the near future, inshallah, we might do something about Hadith al-Kisa because, Hassan, please do mute your phone because there's an echo. Inshallah, in the near future, we'll do something about Hadith al-Kisa because Hadith al-Kisa still has, they still use it to prove some other evidences. I guess it does deserve, not necessarily a lengthy episode, but we still should talk about it in the future.
Okay, I would like to add a point on this question. Before, I would like to quote what Sheikh Ali Muhammad Sallabi in his book Ali ibn Abi Talib, Volume 2, page 365 to 366 states. Okay, basically my explanation would be related to this, what he states. It's quite lengthy. He states that the divine will referred to in the verse is his, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's legislative will, which is different from his universal will. Undoubtedly, Allah removed a rich from Fatima, Al-Hassan, Al-Hussein, Ali, the wives of the Prophet. May Allah be pleased with all of them.
Allah barak fik. I think we should leave that for next time, inshallah, because this topic, al-Kisa, and linking it to...
Okay, I will give a brief answer to that. The brief answer is that Hadith al-Kisa is a tashrihi purification. It's not takwini. Tashrihi in the sense that when Prophet ﷺ, when the verse was revealed, Prophet ﷺ made dua to Allah. You see what the verse states. Innama yuridallah. This was the wish of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wished, then why did Prophet ﷺ again made dua? Why did he say to Allah, oh Allah, these are my Ahl-Bayt? Was Mazallah, was he Allah, Prophet ﷺ dictating to Allah? Was he dictating to Allah that these are my Ahlul Bayt? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had already willed, He already willed that He's going to remove, He's going to purify the Ahlul Bayt. So what was the need of Prophet ﷺ to again say, oh Allah, these are my Ahlul Bayt, as if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has purified someone else. He decided to purify someone else. We say, and the hadiths, the different hadiths which have a detailed context, these hadiths say that this was a dua, it was a supplication done by Prophet ﷺ. Why? Because the verse was revealed for the voice of Prophet ﷺ, as the context of the verse states. If you read the complete verse of Surah Al-Ahzab, verse number 33, you'll see that it was revealed for the wives. And this was even attested by Ibn Abbas, for whom Prophet ﷺ made dua that may Allah give him the understanding of Quran, as mentioned in Bukhari or Muslim, I guess. So Ibn Abbas shared the view that this verse was revealed for wives of Prophet ﷺ, and it's mentioned in Siyar al-Nubala of Imam Zahabi.
Allah barak fik, akhi.
So
Inshallah,
this was a dua.
Habibi, inshallah, we'll carry on with that next time, inshallah, next time we talk about this topic,
Okay.
we'll get into it in detail, because wallah, there's too much to say. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah, brothers Riyab. We had a few days ago, we had a little discussion about Muawiyah, and it was a lot of it had to do with brothers Riyab's discussion on Titans TV. If he'd like to comment, then we'll definitely read out his comments and share his thoughts. One of the brothers asks if we could do a discussion about the authenticity of Kitab Sulaym and the dalalat of Kitab Sulaym in the near future, inshallah. I don't know if that's really necessary, because
It's not priority, but
yeah.
I think in 5 minutes you can talk about it yourself, Farid.
Well, there's not much to say. There's not much to say about Kitab Sulaym, and it's sufficient to know that a lot of them have rejected Kitab Sulaym due to issues with the content of the book itself. But yeah, that's I guess another topic for another time. If we even.
But Farid, in regards to this topic, I think we should address the issue that why did some scholars, out of lenience, authenticated this hadith, even in the versions which is faulty, which has weak chains.
Please do.
It is because it's actually a sign of love for Ahlul Bayt. Because we know that the hadiths are weak. However, we understood these hadiths to be the hadith of virtues, of fadail. So we thought that no one is going to blow it out of proportion and form an aqidah like what people are doing now. So what some scholars stated, that they were lenient with these hadiths. They didn't make a proper and a sophisticated and a detailed research, not scrutinizing the text properly or the chain properly. They authenticated it because these were the hadiths of virtues, and there are statements from classical scholars where they said that we were lenient when we came to hadiths which were related to virtues. So what happened? They were lenient. Secondly, the reason they explained it is because the explanation they are giving was somehow narrated via other reports. For example, even though the hadiths were weak, yet they authenticated out of lenience, and they explained it saying that you have to love Ahlul Bayt, you have to take care of them, like that. So what happens that these people, they quote their scholars like Sindhi. They quote him that, see, Sindhi is saying that you have to love and take care of Ahlul Bayt. He's using Hadith Thaqalayn, and still he says that it's not like you don't have to adhere them like Quran. You have to adhere Quran and Sunnah. This is basically the main reason is because what he's saying is proven from Quran. Because as I show you, as per Quran, there is no one else who has to be adhered unconditionally.
Hassan, before I toss the same question to you, brothers Riyab, if you don't mind, please, if you do have Twitter, please do contact me through Twitter. If not, I don't know, akhi, but please do contact me through Twitter. Inshallah, we'll try to set something up for next time. Um, I'd also like to point out another reason why I believe that some scholars have authenticated Hadith Thaqalayn, these strange wordings of Hadith Thaqalayn, is because scholars often um, authenticate narrations if they have a basis in another narration, even if there's a slight difference in wording. Usually, there isn't much scrutiny for slight differences in wording. But if the general narration is authentic, then yeah, they just accept it, and based on because here's the thing, the narration is in Sahih Muslim. Again, the narration is from a narration of Zayd bin Arqam. It's really clear.
Exactly, exactly.
It doesn't say anything about holding on to Thaqalayn, but it is Hadith Thaqalayn. It's the same Hadith Thaqalayn,
I would like
but
to add
there's
something.
nothing.
I would like to add something.
Let me
The
finish my
brothers,
point.
they
Let me finish
quoted.
my point, Akhi.
Okay, okay.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay. So basically, the scholar who would grade the hadith, for example, in Tirmidhi as authentic, narration that says, hold on to al-Khalifatain, for example, hold on to al-Khalifatain, Kitabullah wa Ahl Bayti. That same scholar, he's thinking about the hadith in Muslim. He's like, yeah, it's authentic. Same thing here. It's authentic. The word Khalifatain used instead of Thaqalayn. All right, same idea, and he'd authenticate it. And generally, they would be correct, except in cases like this, when when the wording really actually does have does cause a difference in the meaning of the hadith, and this is what has happened. There's a complete different meaning that Shi'is have been able to extract from these alternative understandings. Yes, Hassan, please. Tafadhal.
Everything goes back, and this is now a very important point, inshallah. You see, Al-Sunnah, listen to this carefully. Everything goes back to usul, to the basics.
Speak up, Akhi.
If your basics, your usul and your deen are strong, you will not fall for these cheap shubuhat. I've saw this one video of this Haroon. I don't know if you guys know, one of these of the crew of the Roadrunner crew, that other young brother there, his name is Haroon, I think, also Rizvi something.
Haroon Jameel.
Yeah, he's a so-called ex, of course, from the Brailvi type. We know that not all Brailvis, but there's definitely types of them that are called Tafziliya, Pro-Shia. But anyway, you can tell he's a young person. He says in the latest show about the Thaqalayn, yeah? He says, and then you hear everywhere, Quran, Sunnah, Quran, Sunnah, Quran, Sunnah. Why? Why do you hear this? Whereas you find in none of the Sihah Sitta. He wants to say Kutub Sitta. Anyway, this person and his likes, if they would understand that, Rajul, or you, the statement, the concept, Quran and Sunnah is purely Quranic. It doesn't matter if that hadith is aslan non-existent. I mean, the hadith about Quran and Sunnah, yeah? Which is, it's not like it doesn't exist. It is in books. And some scholars argue that it reached us in a mutawatir meaning, not as in connected chain. In either case, it is in Quranic context. Atiyullah wa atiyur Rasul. Atiyullah wa atiyur Rasul. And then there's other hadith. عليكم بالسنة وبالسنة الخلفاء الراشدين المهديين من بعد, upon you is my sunnah and the sunnah of my khulafa al-rashidin al-mahdiyin after me. So there is a lot of evidences. The Quran is filled. Aslan, me as actually, I remember when I became very familiar with the Quran. Everybody who becomes familiar with the Quran, that's why Shias must become familiar with the Quran. They will understand the Quran is Allah messenger, Allah messenger, Allah messenger. That's the message of the Quran, the message of the Islam. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. That is why the Shia sect, all sects, neither the Zaydis, neither the Ibadis, no sect except the extremists among the Shias, obviously, of course, they include 12ers, have tampered with the Shahada. All other sects understood that it's only La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, full stop. But they've even tampered with the Shahada. La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, Aliyun waliyullah, and so on and so forth. Whereas this is not the logic of the Quran. It's not the mantiq of the Quran. This is not the slogan of the Quran. Even the verses they misuse. وَأُولِي الْأَمْرِ مِنْكُمْ. أُولِي الْأَمْرِ, general terminology. Those who have authority among you, addressing every people at every time, for every age. Those who have authority among you, not imams, طيبين الطاهرين. Look how Shias make dua. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. The Shias are smarter than Allah. They know how to exactly define Ahl al-Bayt. Ahl al-Bayt الطاهرين المعصومين and كذا and so on. But Allah calls them ulil amr, right? Allah used ambiguous terminology for so-called 12 infallibles. This religion, brothers and sisters, this 12 religion is based upon mutashabihat, ambiguous evidences like all false religions. Note that. Always remember that all false religions are based on mutashabihat. Whereas Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is based on muhkamat, clear-cut evidences. And as Brother Noor said and Brother Farid said, the evidences they bring, some weak narrations, are in reality weak, but some scholars authenticated it based on fada'il of Ahl Bayt and whatnot, not to derive aqidah from it. You know why? Because those scholars are scholars. They don't make aqidah based on shaky narrations that they authenticated based on fada'il. They know that the most authentic version is in Sahih Muslim, which speaks. There's no word about following Ahl al-Bayt. But then, Allah al-Musta'an, what do you expect from a people who, when you ask, where's the dalil, when the Shamsi brother asked in Hyde Park, where's the dalil for following Ahl al-Bayt, then this roadrunner said, oh, Allah, he didn't even recite the verse. What did he say? Allah says in the Quran, love my family. Huh? Love my family. MashaAllah. Even that verse includes mawadda, the word terminology, not Ahl al-Bayt al-Tahirin al-Ma'sumin. And what does love have to do with following? Anyway, that shows the bankruptcy of these people, and that's why these shows are very important, very important. Inshallah, Farid is right. You need a whole show about Hadith Kisa.
Inshallah, we'll get into that next time.
Detailed show.
Allah barak fikum, guys. Inshallah, we have to wrap it up. If there's anything additional, inshallah, we'll tie it into a later episode that has to do with, al-Kisa. عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. All right, just one second.